Hi, so today I'm going to be making an easy Dutch oven bread that I do from start to finish in my KitchenAid stand mixer. I've made this several times and I have gotten down to a point where I only do everything in the KitchenAid stand mixer bowl. So we're going to start off by getting 2 cups of warm water around 100 degrees. And I just have my little instant thermometer to help me out with that. If you don't have a thermometer, it needs to be warm but not hot. I've put it on my scale just so that we could get it a little more accurate, but you can see the measuring cup got it pretty close. Just gonna top it up a little here and get it to 500. Perfect. To the warm water, I'm going to add 2 1/4 teaspoons of the active dry yeast. That is equivalent to 1 package of yeast that you would get at the store. I buy my yeast in the bulk size and I keep it in a mason jar in my fridge and the rest in the freezer. I'm going to add 3 teaspoons or 1 tablespoon of sugar to the yeast in the water, and I'm just going to whisk it to blend. I'm just adding more sugar because I realized it needed a tablespoon, not a teaspoon. Read my recipe incorrectly. So I am going to let the yeast activate for about 10 minutes. You guys can watch that yeast bubble. All right, after 10 minutes, I am going to add 5 cups of bread flour. I have made this recipe with all-purpose flour. I feel like I use less all-purpose flour. It's going to be about 4.5 cups if you're using all-purpose, but with the bread flour, I always find that I need a little more. So I do 5 cups, which is going to be 700 grams on the scale. I'm not ever really completely precise, a couple grams. So to the flour and the yeast, I am going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. And you can do just a little bit over a teaspoon, like a heaping teaspoon, if you like a little more salt in your foods. And then I'm going to turn on the stand mixer with the dough hook attachment, and I'm going to set it to low and just wait for it to combine. I'm not really doing any heavy mixing yet. I grab my silicone spatula, which makes things a little easier, any spatula will do, and just scrape the sides down a little, and I will mix it until it starts coming away from the stand mixer bowl. So I'm going to walk away, let that mix. So when I'm mixing it in the stand mixer, I'm not going to mix it for a very long time. I would say maybe 2-3 minutes max, not even. I wouldn't go that long. What you're just trying to do is get the dough to combine itself until you get like a shaggy dough mix. So you can see I'm going to stretch it and pull it in between my fingertips so you can see the texture. I find that with doughs, you hear a lot of people say like it's all in the texture and it's more of feeling the dough. So you can see it's very shaggy, it rips apart, it pulls away from the dough hook. It's sticky, but it's not wet, it's not gluing to me very much. So if I tap my finger back on that dough, the dough attaches itself back to the ball. It came off my finger rather quickly. If I'm pretty slow, it sticks to my fingers. I do the dishes, and I don't want to mess up very many bowls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this dough out of the KitchenAid stand mixer, and I do have the help of my husband next to me, but I could just place it down on the counter for a second if I needed to. And we're going to put, I would say, about a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. Anything that you're cooking with, if you don't have extra virgin olive oil, a vegetable oil will do, just something flavorless. If, like, I wouldn't use a coconut oil, but an avocado oil, a canola oil, an olive oil, they're all really good flavors when it comes to this type of bread. So you can see he just puts in a tablespoon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll my dough into this oil and coat it on all sides so that it doesn't stick as much to the bowl as it's rising. You can certainly use a different bowl. You can dirty as many dishes as you'd like. I've just gotten this down to a one bowl method, and I think everybody in the house is pretty happy at the end of the day when we only have to wash the one mixing bowl. I'm just going to cover the KitchenAid stand mixer with some plastic wrap and set it in the corner of my kitchen. I'm going to keep it close to the oven because I'm going to preheat the oven to 500, so it's going to be a nice warm area. So after it's risen in the KitchenAid stand mixer for an hour, I am going to preheat the oven to 500. You can see here, look at that dough, it has risen. I'm going to take it out of the bowl, drop it down onto a floured countertop. So I place the dough on the counter, and now I'm going to grab it from the edges and I'm going to fold it into the center all the way around. And then once I've gathered all the edges and folded, I'm going to flip it down so that the creases are facing the counter. I have a bench scraper, but you can most certainly do this with the palms of your hand. And I am going to roll the dough in between the bench scraper and my hand by pushing it and pulling it back and forth. I am not the best at this, so don't worry, it's not difficult. It really just needs to be a round shape and have the seams at the bottom of the dough. I'm going to turn it into a nice round shape. Looks like I'm pretty happy with my little bread dough ball. I'm going to grab the KitchenAid stand mixer bowl. I'm going to place parchment paper right into the bowl. It's still dirty. That's no big deal. I don't need to grab another bowl. I'm going to pick up the dough and I'm going to drop it down into the stand mixer with the parchment paper. Right now, it is going to take at least 30 minutes for that oven to be completely preheated with the Dutch oven inside. Don't forget, it's the lid and the Dutch oven. So I take kitchen scissors. If you have a sharp knife, you can use a sharp knife. And I just cut a crease down the middle of the bread, place the lid on, and put the Dutch oven with the dough into the oven for 20 minutes. Don't mind my oven. I am doing a lot of cooking every day with this oven. So I'm going to take the lid off and I'm going to bake it for an additional 20 minutes. I think it looks so nice, doesn't it? Makes everybody happy. Who doesn't love bread? Set my timer for another 20 minutes. And there we have it. So there's a few ways that you can make sure that your bread is cooked throughout. Obviously, you can tell by the color how dark you like your bread. Also, tapping on the bottom of the bread when it's cooled down just a little, if you get a hollow noise, that's a good indicator of your bread being fully cooked. So we actually have family over and we are desperate to cut into this bread. So you're going to see I'm going to cut into it and you might catch the steam still coming out. I know it's hard to see, but it was perfect. But when you cut into hot bread, it does kind of make the crumb of the bread, the inside, kind of stick to itself. This is not anything bad. The bread was absolutely delicious, but if you completely cool it, you get that definitely that airy texture on the cut. So I hope that you guys find this easy to make, and there's very little mess, very little cost, definitely high reward, relatively quick. You only have the 1 hour rise time. And then the 30 minutes to preheat the oven. So it's going to be a lot faster than other breads. You can see, look, I can barely touch the bread, it's so hot. Woo. Well, I'm going to enjoy some of this. I hope you do too. Bye.